Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever in the world you are today. Welcome to Friday. I don't know about you, but I've had a week. So I've never been happier to greet a Friday and never been happier to talk about open source. Today, I am super excited because I have an amazing guest. I was just thinking about it. I think it's a tie. I thought it was going to be the youngest guest we ever had at Open Source Friday, but it's a tie. It's a tie with our friend Ravia Shah from Super Memory, who also joined Open Source Friday when he was 19. But I think our guest now is 20 since he's launched his project. So we're going to be talking about Caveman, which is a compression project, open source at its best, about solving a problem that we are all concerned with right now, and that is token expenditure. But before we get into it, I have to give one shout out to GitHub Universe. If you notice that animation, if you joined a little bit earlier, that is our amazing art design team is so good, y'all. They just cook all the time. But they created that for GitHub Universe. And if that gives you like a tiny bit of, I guess, a hint of how cool this conference is, you should definitely, if you can, make it. Couple of things on that note. We have community sessions that are right now up for voting. And what that means is that you have the opportunity to choose which one of 3 incredible sessions get featured on the main stage. And that is important, especially if you're there or if you're not there. So I encourage you, if you're not planning to attend, but you see one of these sessions and you think, wow, this is a session that I would really like to see, please vote for it. That's going to ensure that it's on the main stage. And what that means is that it will be recorded. So you'll actually get to watch it live. So please go into, I'm going to quickly show on the screen what the sessions are. Please go into gh.io/shape the lineup, and you'll get a chance to vote for any of these sessions. The first one is a scaling and adoption story about GitHub Copilot. Again, keep an open mind. You come to these sessions and you're like, yeah, but my company is not using Copilot. It doesn't matter. This is an AI adoption and success story. It could be for you and your team, what you've been looking for. Another one, this one is amazing. 3 foundation leaders discussing how open source, the state of open source, what's changing, what's evolving, and how we need to adapt now in this AI times. So you can vote for that as well. And then this one, why sketching and code matters more. This lineup of these 2 individuals is unbelievable. So these are really, really hard. I want you to know that these are not sessions that are like, these are sessions that have already been selected to be a part of GitHub Universe. The thing that you're voting in is whether or not they're going to be on the main stage. And again, you want them in the main stage because that's going to help us actually view them either live or pre-recorded. So go by Shape the Lineup today, please. gh.io Shape the Lineup. And that would allow you to, hey, go ahead and vote for your favorite session. That's housekeeping item number 1. Housekeeping item number 2, and my favorite of them all, because I love giveaways. We have a ticket giveaway for GitHub Universe. So if you are in the Bay Area, can't find your way to the Bay Area, please go to gh.io/win. And I will that little ticker to the bottom there so that you have it. And that's going to bring you to a repository where all the details of this event are going to be. So what do you win? What do I win, Andrea? You win the ticket. You win the opportunity to come and be part of every single thing that's happening at GitHub Universe. Friends, I don't have the wallet because if you were up to me, I'll send a jet to pick you up. But that's probably why they don't let me have the wallet. But I promise if you come, you will not regret it. You will have a good time. The ticket is about to go up in price. Like the early bird tickets are, I think that's closing in the next couple of days. So if you were planning on coming and you haven't purchased your ticket, purchase it today. If you're planning on coming, you were like, it's not in my budget, but I'll be there. So let me just enter this giveaway. Enter this giveaway. What do you have to lose? Nothing. I have 3 years in a row invited the guest of the giveaway to sit down with me and do like a quick clip and recording. And they all been camera shy. So if you're that and you come in, I'll make sure that we connect and we record something so we can share it later with Open Source Friday. So enter for your chance to win an in-person ticket. You can do it now. And okay, I think we're ready to get started with our guest today. Also today, I need your help. I am going to be testing an app that I'm helping build for an activity that we have. So we're going to play a little game at the end. I have no test on this. I literally, it's been deployed to Azure containers. It's being held together by hope and dreams. So it might crash and burn. We'll actually play it and have a good time. And the winner is going to get some stickers in the mail from me. So we'll get to that later. But my guest today is Julius Brussee. I probably completely mispronounced his name, but he is the creator of Caveman. Welcome, Julius. Thank you for being on Open Source Friday.
Yes, Andrea, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited that you answered my call. For those of you who don't know, and I probably slid into your DMs if you're watching this at one point or the other, when I see cool projects, I'm like, I have to meet the people. I have to know why they built it. And we're going to make it work because this project, Julius, you cracked the code. You launched it on Product Hunt. You got it training on GitHub. And then please tell me the news that you told me about the star count a little bit before we went live.
Yeah, so around an hour before we went live, it hit 100,000 stars, which is a huge milestone, and I'm very proud.
That's an unbelievable undertaking. That's like 100,000 people landed on that page on GitHub and were like, yes, start this project. And so my charge to all of you who are watching Open Source Friday is we're going to keep this star number growing. And the way we're going to do that is you are going to go to github.com/Julius Brussee/Caveman and leave a star, please. And you can do that throughout this transmission. You can do it after. If you're watching this after the live, you can do it then. But Julius, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself? You're 20, not 19 anymore, right? You were 19 when you launched the skill. But where are you based and what do you do? And then we'll get into what Caveman actually is.
Yeah, for sure. So I just turned 20 a few weeks ago. I was also just a student studying data science and AI at Leiden University. But I've been programming virtually my whole life. I think it started around 9 years old. My dad was a video games programmer, so he taught me the right way around C++, that sort of thing. And from there, I kept building a lot of different projects. And at some point, one of them was Caveman.
I love this so much. I've tried so hard to get my kids to be excited about coding. Like we got as far as Python, like with Scratch and things. If I try to start with C++, their eyes would have like exploded out of their brain. So shout out to your dad. That is amazing. I love this. I love this. I love this. All right. So tell me about this skill and the idea for the skill. When did you start working with LLMs and what made you think, hey, there's a problem here I can maybe help solve?
Yeah, so like I said, right, I very much first started out with video games, but then I think when ChatGPT 3.5 came out, all the way back in the beginning, that became my new obsession, and it really became the focus of everything that I was researching and looking into. And so kind of naturally, right, over time, I think all of us felt this, where AI started replacing what you're writing manually yourself. And then it became... So I took a gap year after high school because I wasn't sure, hey, do I want to study computer science since I've been programming so long, or do I want to go into the business route? And during that time, I was building a lot of different projects and working for a few companies. And I had noticed that my AI bill at the end of every month was higher than my grocery bill. And that's the genesis of where Caveman came from, right? I had been kind of knee deep in a lot of different optimizations within the app layer, but not really within my own workflows. And so I looked into, hey, what are all of these sessions, right? Where is all of this coming from? And so much of it was this waste. It was that stereotypical AI slop language. We're all familiar to it, like, oh, sure, you're absolutely right. And the very first iteration of it actually was in one of the apps that I had built, I read this research paper that said that classical Chinese, a language that no one's spoken in 2,000 years, was the most token efficient language. So I swapped out all the backend agents into using classical Chinese and ended up saving costs.
Get out.
It was crazy, and it actually worked. And then a few weeks later, I saw a post on the internet that said, like, hey, I made Claude speak like a caveman. And I looked at it, I like visually counted up the tokens as best as I could. And I saw it was much less. And I also was like, oh, well, now that's something I can actually read as well. And so I turned it into a skill, put it up, benchmarked it, and then overnight left my phone off. And the next morning woke up, it was #1 on Hacker News. And now we're here.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Okay, so for folks who don't know this, when you say you read a paper, like I couldn't love that more because there is so many research papers. Like I have an agent that goes and like does a scan based on like my interest, right? And then it brings me the ones that are like, but a lot of this is extremely dense, deeply technical. And it is not light reading. This is not something that you can gloss over, especially if you want to actually create something from it. So that's a good tip for people who are interested in like frontier technologies and maybe don't know where to poke around. So you went to bed, you wake up, this is trending on Hacker News, it's trending on GitHub, it's happening. All right. And maybe we take a look at the skill now or the repo so that we can kind of take our viewer into a little bit of a trip of what Caveman looks like in essence. And I'm also going to share your website because you do have a website for it.
Perfect. Yeah, sounds great. I'll get the screen share started.
All right, great. And folks, for those of you who are just now joining, we are joined with by Julius from the creator, not from Caveman, the creator of Caveman. And Caveman is a compression skill for LLMs to use less tokens so that you can save money. You can follow Julius on LinkedIn or X. And let me share the website as well while you get the share loaded up.
Perfect. I think it should be working.
Perfect. All right. So what are we looking at?
Yes, so this is just the README of the repo, and I think the very first part to start out with is the iconic slogan of why use many token when few do trick.
So good.
At some point, right, this was a slogan that got added a few hours after I woke up, and it was because everyone kept telling me, oh, this is like Kevin from The Office. And I actually have never watched The Office.
No way.
But I was more than happy to merge the PR because I thought it fit so well. And yeah, of course, the repository has changed a lot over time. It's evolved more past the skill, but I think it makes sense to start out with here, this section of, this was a real transcript from a question that I asked one of my agents in the beginning. And I had asked it about this React component re-rendering issue. And it responded to me with this extremely verbose, long language. I really, when you're managing 8 different agent sessions, you don't have the time to read any of this. And so then this is the exact response when I ask the same question, but with /caveman enabled. And you can just see it's literally like 4 times shorter. It's incredibly more efficient to read. And that's where it started. Now the repo's evolved a little bit more. So not only do we save on output now with language compression, we also save on some input compression and change some files to be more agent legible. And I think as well, the original philosophy of Caveman was really about, hey, there's this waste in the way that AI speaks, but there's a lot of waste in other places as well. So now with the existing proxy, you can also just run Caveman learn. It runs completely on your device, and it scores and finds different things in your past session logs that are causing a lot of your tokens to disappear.
Oh, that's very interesting. And that's all part of the same skill?
Yeah, so the skill there are now multiple skills in the repository. I'll show the Caveman skill soon as well, but it's also this incredibly complicated engine now that wraps around your existing coding agents. Here's some architecture diagram of it that just makes, here we can see the benchmark here, 33% lower input tokens than direct Claude code, but that's what launched last week. So yeah, here's what it can do on certain kinds of file types. It can save up to 90% on JSON, 70% on code, quite a lot on search results as well. But yeah, here. So this is a Caveman skill as it is now. As you can see, quite dense, but that's also because it's been rewritten by Caveman multiple times. And I think the original point of Caveman was, yes, make it speak in this ultra compressed communication mode, but ultimately as programmers, we also have to understand what the agent is saying, right? So shorten it, compress it when it's not important, but when you run into things like errors or run into points where I really have to understand it, drop it. You can use the full prose, the full style that we need.
That's super important. So it's not about negating the need for information or like shrinking the context that you actually need. It's about being intelligent about what context you actually need to expand on. Very cool.
Yeah, exactly. Always, for example, you can see this line, always keep technical terms, code, API names exact, verbatim, but just drop the articles, drop the just, really, basically, actually, pleasantries, all those things that I always speak with, and yeah, everyone does, but agents don't really need it, right? And then pretty early on in the repository as well, people kind of felt the need for some different levels of intensity. So then a few of those were built in as well, where you had light, full, and ultra is quite intense. I personally don't use it too often because I like reading a little bit more of the language than it provides. And then as well, you have the callback to where it originally started, right? Wenyan as a language, and that's maximum token compression. In some benchmarks, it's even 80 to 90% reduction on more chat type tasks.
That's absolutely wild. That's absolutely wild. Okay, so would you suggest, because I feel every day there's a different tweet, somebody saying like, I don't look at the code, I look at the code. I don't know. Like for people who are like truly like just vibe coding, they're like, that's it. Maybe they're not engineers, they're not developers, and they're just like, they're using one of the many agent solutions now. Like, would you suggest they go on the ultra, like the highest level? I mean, it's gonna save you the most. If what you're gonna look at, you don't understand, like what's the need for verbosity then?
It's okay. Of course, there's a difference between what I think you should do and what people will most likely do.
Okay, fair.
Sometimes I, of course, also find myself not reading the code anymore as much as I should. But I think it's natural, right? I would assume that a lot of people that are a bit less involved with the technical side of things would not mind the full ultra or Wenyan ultra because they just want to get the most usage out of their subscriptions, and they'll see the output when they load up the app.
Yeah, I mean, fair. Okay. And again, listen, this is why this is a skill, it's open source, like, so you can also personalize it. All right, please carry on.
Yeah, exactly. It's completely open source. And I think that's incredibly important, right? I think some of these developments, especially for skills, things that are really embedded in the developer workflow, it definitely makes sense to be source available, because then as well as a community, you can share the research and kind of move forward together rather than just optimizing my personal workflow, but optimizing for everyone's. And yeah, so I'd be also really happy to demo a little bit of, hey, where has this actually gone? Right.
Let's see it. Before you get into the demo, I want to clarify, you can use this with any agent, right? Like this is, I guess, agent agnostic. All right, beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, you can just run npx skills install is in there, and it works for any agent. The proxy, however, the more complicated aspect of it only works with around 7, but it's planning to expand to cursor and kilocode soon as well. So I'll get to showing what that actually looks like as well.
Perfect.
Yes. All right. So here we can see the very stereotypical Caveman language, right? This was a quick task that I ran earlier today of a feature that I wanted added to the Caveman repo itself. And you can see just, hey, here's this really brief summary at the end of it. That's, just gives me all the details that I needed to know. And of course, I looked over the code a little bit, but yeah. So a little demo of the actual skill, but if you want to see how the actual session logs work, so you can run Caveman learn, it scans your local sessions.
As far back as to what? All the local sessions that you have in...
So last 30 days is mostly what it targets. Okay. And here we can already see some top moves of, hey, okay, here's where a lot of the waste is coming in from. And you can either choose, hey, just implement it with your agent directly. So if you click this, your Claude will go ahead and fix all of these things. So your agents become more efficient every day, because you can see right at the rate of development that I have that this piece of waste is costing me 76 million tokens per day.
Wow.
And you can also get a bit nicer of a report here that's more legible for us with a Caveman TLDR up here. So you can see these token sinks here of, okay, there's a bunch of recurring context patterns. You can load that into a memory system, or you can make your Claude MD a bit tighter. Or here we can see, okay, I have quite a lot of hooks and sessions installed here. Maybe that's something I can reduce some waste. You can see as well, looking into your sessions, right? I think agents tend to operate quite poorly past the 50% context window. And so clearly I need to do some work here on making sure that my context is managed a bit better. And you can also see the cost per 30 days. So of course I use subscriptions as not API cost, but you can see, okay, yeah, if I used only Fable 5, well, then it would have been $9,600 that I would have spent in the last 30 days.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So this report is pulling is visualizing the data from your sessions from using the Caveman learn command.
Exactly.
And then it has like these estimations that I guess is tagging into whatever the price of things are. Okay. That is very, very cool. I love the visualization that graph like makes you.
And what you can do with it as well, right, is after you've implemented these things, you can also type in Caveman Claude, and then what it does is it loads up Claude code exactly as normal, like you can see here. But when you're in this Claude interaction, it's wrapping around, like it's proxying your existing Claude code session, and it makes sure that a lot of this wasteful data, like for example that JSON file that I was talking about, before it ever hits your agent, is more converted to a file format that they actually like. But it functions exactly like normal Claude code. It does not interfere at all with your existing developer workflow.
That's great. No disruptions there. That's awesome. I want to take a quick moment to tell people, like, if you're watching this and you have questions for Julius, don't hesitate to drop them in the chat and I'll scroll through and take a look.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, hey, listen, right? The repository is always open. You can always launch issues, pull requests. I'm sure there's many. There's a lot of agents that we have to support. And I think that's one of those things that there needs to be a lot of work on, right? Supporting Claude, Codex, open code, each with their own different system for hooks is quite a technical challenge, and not something that I can always test for. So any issues that you have there, please feel free to file them.
Okay, perfect. All right. And also, if you see that your agent is unsupported, and that could be a good contribution to
support
for your add support for your agent. Okay, I love it. What's this, the whole cave?
Yes. So, right. The kind of idea that we have here of you can make agents do a lot more with a lot less. Okay. Of course, you have Caveman, which is based around what the agent says and what it reads. But as well, out of personal experience, whenever I would use coding agents with my browsers, when I'd have them look over some sessions or interact with them, it was also very token inefficient. It would run through my costs so quickly. And so I made Caveman Browse, which is an MCP extension that you can use with any coding agent. And on certain workloads is like, if you're searching for data from a web file, it can be up to 128 times more effective just because it actually loads exactly what you're looking for rather than the full file at once. And there were a few other experiments in there as well, which was Caveman code, which these are now archived and frozen. But were, for example, a coding agent that was at some point 2 times more efficient than Codex and even more than Claude Code on using tokens, and that had a lot of this compression built into the harness itself.
That's very interesting. May I ask why you put that to bed? I mean, that's a tough focus to have right now, is as fast as everything is moving.
Yeah, exactly right. Every week there's a new coding harness that releases, and I think it's more important because Caveman is about really working with the developer rather than giving them an entirely new workflow. That focusing on that is better, right? That whoever uses Claude or whoever uses Codex can use the same optimizations rather than having to download an entirely new coding agent and relearn and reset up your skills and all of that.
I love that. I appreciate that. I'm all about developer choice. And yeah, better to be able to plug into your existing workflows than have to start from zero. For the browser that you mentioned and question, that browser is an MCP server, but it's for when you say the optimization is because it's the agent doing the looking for you, or it's a browser for the agent basically.
Yeah, so it interacts with your Chromium instance, and it
Okay.
essentially is an MCP for it, but it's a lot more efficient than Playwright. I think on average workflow, around 20%, but again, with certain scenarios, it can be up to 128 times, which is quite crazy.
I love that. I will experiment with that. I've used the skill, but I've not used the browse. Like that's gonna be
Yeah.
very, very, very cool to try. Okay, and then I have a question from someone, and I don't know if this is related to the report, and I'm sorry, Rishabh, if I missed it when you said the question live. Maybe it's about the ways that you can export I don't know if it's importing data, but he asked, can it save data in multiple form if it's like big data? I don't know if you mean the report that the Caveman Learn is generating. So if you could give us a little bit more context. But if you know what he's asking, let's answer him, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I think you might be saying export the data that it learns from the sessions. All of that's stored locally, so you can interact with it, and you can always ask your agent. Like, for example, if I go back to the session, right, if you just type in Caveman Learn, and you can see, you can open up the actual file as well of all the data that it collects. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, here.
Oh, there is. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I mean, the report is beautiful. Like that data visualization is great. But yeah, if there are people that want to send it through another type of process or keep it
Yeah,
to
exactly. Or use it with their agent. You of course don't need the full visual report.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I love this. Obviously, you use it, right? But you also have 100,000 stars on GitHub. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of people that are using it.
for sure.
Can you tell me a little bit about because right now are you it? I know you have 45 contributors, like that's
Yeah,
what your GitHub is saying, but
yeah.
like what type of contributions are you looking for? What do you think the community who's watching this and they're like, bet this is exactly what I want to focus on as far as like helping out a project that I care about and I use?
Yeah.
Where can people be like the most effective in their contribution, or is there anything in
Yeah.
particular that you're looking for?
So of course, like I said, right, extend it for existing coding agents, make it more maintainable. I think more interestingly, I always take a look at whatever other waste people can find, because I have my own developer workflows, but I'm sure in others there's a ton of waste in there, right? I've seen a lot of things being developed with memory systems or even more advanced sort of compression. Like one of the systems that I thought was really interesting and was actually originally sourced from a pull request or an issue that someone raised, which is if you load in skills as images, certain models like Fable, for example, save around 60% because an image token is just a set of pixels, and you can fit in around 60% more text in an image token than a text token.
Okay.
And yeah, so these sorts of experiments, right, they end up saving a lot because now the Caveman skill is 60% more efficient for everyone that uses it. There's a lot of these sorts of areas out there, and I think experiment with it, right? If you find cool savings, just open up an issue, and I'd be more than happy to see how does this actually fit into the broader ecosystem.
Okay, I love this so much. You just reminded me of something really fun that's gonna be happening around my world in the next couple of weeks. I can't talk about it, but but we'll circle back. We'll circle back to that. But
You
there's a
guys will
lot
hear
of
about the announcement soon.
so there's
And
a lot of experimentations that you can do as you adapt it to your own agent or your own developer workflows. And then if you find something that you think, hey, this would be good for all, go ahead and what's your contribution workflow right now? Like people open an issue. I see you have a lot of issues open.
yeah, so right now I do have to do a bit more maintenance because right now I am pretty much a sole maintainer of Caveman. That will be changing quite soon. But I tend to take a look at every pull request from the last 24 hours. There's an intense volume of them. As you can see, I've closed around 280, but still 188 to do. And I think some of the older ones I'll have to end up closing automatically because the repo's changed a lot since then. And a lot of the issues also just get fixed in the latest releases. But yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I know some of the folks who join, actually, I saw a couple of comments for people that use it. I love it. Listen, if you're using it, you haven't gone by and started. And if you're
Yeah.
interested in contributing to the project, then just take a look at the repo itself and open an issue.
Yeah.
It sounds like there is room for, obviously, I love this, being able to just bring your own experience and like that bit about the
Yeah.
picture. Got my
And interestingly, right, LLMs are so non-deterministic that sometimes people have completely different experiences with the caveman skill than I do. So, for example, with the latest Anthropic models, which tend to be a little bit more verbose, and I know a lot of people don't like that.
Yes, we're like in
Um,
medieval times. Sometimes they hear ye. So I
yeah,
keep waiting for like the bell to ring when I'm
and,
reading some of this stuff.
and it's interesting because sometimes they also outright refuse to work with the caveman skill now
No
and
way.
say, hey, I'm not going to speak that way on purpose. So they're right, adapt it to your own workflow. And if you find that it improves on these certain aspects, please open a pull request because the skill can also be optimized, right? Actually, what's been interesting is for the last 72 hours, I've been running experiments on making the caveman skill like a Karpathy sort of auto research on the caveman skill itself to make it the most token efficient and also the best that it can be, balancing like our language, but also the code that it outputs and all that.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And so how are you doing your releases? Like, are you just setting out like, it's probably like an automated thing too, but I don't know, like when do we see when you're doing like, when this experiment is over, like when will we see a next release that might include that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm releasing virtually every few days.
Okay.
There's a lot of work that's happening on the different branches, and and when it's done, of course, it's merging to main. Yeah, so keep an eye on the other branches if you're curious on where the work's kind of going.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So we know what the skill is for. We know where to find it.
Yes.
I do want to tell people a little bit about your process of releasing the skill because I think like you've done
Yeah.
something that is very difficult to do. A lot of folks have and I know some of you join Open Source Friday because you want to see new things, but also you have your own projects that you're like,
Yeah.
I feel like the world should see this. So can you tell me a little bit about what, like the decision to put it on Product Hunt, like how
Yeah.
did you go methodically about that? I think that might be really useful for folks who are thinking they want to put their work out there. They just don't know how.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, first of all, of course, I believe I'm very fortunate that it did blow up how it did. And I think that is something that may not be repeatable again in the future for a lot of people. I feel very lucky. But I think ultimately it's all about like, I heard someone put it this way recently and I thought it was kind of funny. It's called serendipity maxing, where
Oh,
it's like essentially just maximize your chances that something good will happen. And that's exactly what happened with Caveman, right? I've been posting on social media, I think, for like 8 months before already, just with learnings, with opinions. Hey, I did this, I did that. And people cared about it, but it wasn't necessarily viral. But the thing was that people cared about it. And so, how Caveman grew, it wasn't from my posts on the internet. It was I made a few posts. Those got a good amount of traction. Then other people thought it was important enough to share it to other places. That post on Hacker News, I didn't make. That was someone
oh,
else.
okay.
And so, of course, very fortunate that that person decided to do it. And I think that's where the luck comes in. But if I didn't post on social media for that time, if I didn't have that audience initially, that wouldn't happen. And I don't mean go record yourself in your room and post on Instagram every day. Just, hey, if you learn something interesting from a session or you wanted to make a small little tool after you encountered an issue, put it on GitHub, share it, right? I think that's incredibly important. And ultimately, you never know who's watching. I think one of the first
Fair.
pull requests from Caveman was from like people working at Microsoft and another at OpenAI, right? Like the reach had developed so quickly, even before it was completely viral. So yeah,
I love this. I think you managed to like make people excited about something, and then it's kind of it creates a wave. But I'm
yeah,
going to 100% steal this. So it's serendipity maxing.
yeah,
Serendipity maxing.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
beautiful. Also, for those of you who share things all the time and you feel like they're not getting the traction that they deserve, listen. Julius here is a clear example. Like you never know, you never know who's
Yeah,
gonna be watching.
and
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, 8 months isn't a long time. It feels like that when you're young, but it's really not. And so sometimes it takes longer, but you never know, right? Caveman was something I made initially in 30 minutes, and I didn't think much of it. Um, but it was just one of those tools that I shared on the internet, and it ended up being probably the most impactful thing that I've ever built.
I love that. I love this for you. You have such an incredible, bright career ahead of you. I can't wait to see what else you build. Like this is
Yeah.
literally only the beginning. And
Yeah.
if experience lets us know, we're not gonna stop talking about the importance of talking economy anytime soon. If anything, the
No.
conversation is turning more intense.
Yeah.
So okay, I have to ask quick rapid fire, and then we'll play our game, and then you can go enjoy your Friday. But because you obviously done a lot of testing, we all have our opinions about models. I know
Yeah.
they're like children, are they? You can't say you have a favorite, but could you share a little bit about like what you're loving? This bit about how it wasn't simplified Chinese. You said it was classical. What part of
Yeah.
the research paper? Yeah. So there is like so much nuance in the way that the models are the LLMs are trained. Like, what
Sure.
are you liking right now? What are you seeing that's interesting in particular that we might not be, they're not the fables of the world, so we might not be talking about them.
Yeah, so I work very product experience backwards, right? So I start with,
Okay.
hey, what do I want the product to feel like? And what do I want this thing to feel like? And then from there, develop it around it, right? I don't begin architecture first, for example. And I think Anthropic has nailed it, of course, with being that thinking partner, and that's also how they market it. But I think lately, in terms of the execution, 5.6 Sol is extremely efficient in regards to executing things with speed, and it gets to executing the task a little bit faster than other models. And I think what was also interesting, and of course, no confirmation here, but I saw reasoning traces on the internet from 5.6 Sol and Kimi K3,
Mm-hmm.
and the language looked a bit familiar, and it looked quite caveman. So maybe there's a good amount of training data that they got that made these models a bit more compressed.
Gosh, Julius, you're doing God's work out there, like making it better for the future. Like
Yeah,
this is the kind of training we need.
yeah,
That's awesome. Awesome. Okay. All right. Listen, folks, because I like to be nosy. Tell me on the chat what's your favorite model that you've been working with. And then I appreciate the distinction between because there are some things that yes, especially if you're doing like really deep researching, like there might be models that are better suited for that than others. But then,
yeah.
for certain coding tasks or once you're like go from like planning to execution, like you might
Yeah,
wanna save some money there. So
I think I've been very lucky, right? Anthropic ended up giving me part of the Anthropic open source program, so my Claude subscription is
nice.
paid for.
Nice.
But open source models are great, right? The Kimi models are doing amazing. I've been hearing a lot of
Yes.
hype around Quen 3.8, and I hope at some point to be able to afford some DGX Sparks to run that locally.
God, you and me, friend. You and me both.
I think all of us.
I know, right? Listen, smart folks out there in the internet, we need some benefactors here to help us. No, that would be
Yeah,
awesome. That would be fantastic. As far as local models, oh, good point. Also, because yeah, even when when your agents are working off local models, like if not for the sake of economy, for the sake of efficiency, still
yeah,
use Caveman. Like you're still saving time,
yeah,
and also saving fury because some of this verbosity of like these responses that I get, I'm like slowly lose it. I'm like, we don't need to get to know each other like that. Just give me the answer. So I
yeah.
appreciate that.
And I
Awesome.
mean, it's very workflow dependent, right? I think there's been a few research papers now. There was Cave Woman by some Adobe researchers that
Say
said
what?
it saves around Cave Woman, yeah, and it saved
Okay.
around 3 times on inference cost, which was interesting. Of course, very great for the environment. But yeah, that's very workflow dependent, right? JetBrains also did an analysis where they said on long horizon coding tasks, it saved around 10%, which is, of course, analyzing this and seeing, hey, which workflows does this work best in is really important. So as well, these metrics are different, and what's in the Caveman repo of 33% savings is on that benchmark specifically, but on others, right, it's different, and you can see, yeah, up to 90% or 10%. So just experiment with it.
I love this. Okay. And thank you so much for being so candid about sharing. I think people are appreciating like the tips on
Yeah.
sharing progress, and we're all rooting for you, Julius. Cannot wait to
Thank
see
you.
what's coming next for Caveman. I appreciate you taking the time to come by. Hang around. Let's try and play this game together. We'll see if it works or not. Oh, let me make sure I shared your socials before. Friends, for those of you who've not gone to the repo, go right now and please start the repository. I would love to see another 100,000 stars. Why not? The sky is the limit. You never know what's
Sure.
going to happen. So,
Yeah.
let's I think it's the end of the day for Julius now, being that you're in Europe. So Julius wake up tomorrow with another pleasant surprise. So let's make that
Yeah.
happen. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Quick little comment from Ahmed. Thanks, Ahmed. It can make open source development much accessible, helping developers understand and explore honestly and save. So, but beyond, I think we are obviously focused on economy because there is a need, but I think that's why that episode of The Office, if you haven't seen it, you should watch it because it's so funny. Because he
Yeah.
was onto
Yeah. By
something.
now I've seen it. Yeah.
Kevin, oh, you've seen it now? Yeah. Kevin is a
Yeah.
bit of
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know if he's a dumb genius or what, but that show, that's hilarious. That was the first thing that I read when I saw the rep, and I'm like, okay, this is hilarious. So shout out to the community who contributed that because that is the funniest
Yeah.
thing. But all about saving you time and saving you cycles, why not? All right. So I've shared now the repository. I'm going to leave it on the screen. Also go to Twitter and forever Twitter and follow Julius. I also have your LinkedIn as well, which I will put on the screen in a moment. And this is what we're going to do, friends. While you're starting and doing all of that, you can go ahead and continue to start the repo, please. That way we make sure that we're getting the stars and we're getting trending. I'm going to load up this game that I want you to help me test today. Again, as I mentioned, I've done no evals on this. This might crash and burn. It might not work. But if you could please play with me and be polite. On one thing I don't have is I might need to work on the guardrails on this, but I'm going to trust you all because we're all about fun in a safe, productive way. And I am a great FBI detective. So like we want to keep this like PG. So please try and load up and let's see if it works. If it doesn't, then we'll scroll out and close out the stream. But I'm not often online with hundreds of my friends watching, so maybe I can get a good pressure test here. So if you don't mind, just go there, or you can use OSF-play as the short URL for it. And then, okay, so I see 2 people in it now. So I guess at least it worked for 2 people. we'll give it a few moments to see. And this is based off, there are going to be like 5 questions based on our stream today. So if the agent did what it was supposed to do, they will be relevant and accurate. If not, again, I have no idea what's coming next. So this is going to be a fun little experiment for all of us. I'm gonna I only have 2 people that are daring, my darers. I appreciate it. Look, we gotta get going because I'm going to let Julius enjoy the rest of this day. So I'll give it one more moment to refresh. I don't know if it's like the Azure container is not handling the load of this, or folks are just like, yeah, no. But okay, no, I do see a few people coming in. I'm gonna give you one more minute and then we're gonna start it. Let me know if you're actually right now actively inputting the code and you're like getting hung anywhere. You're basically my testing group right now. So
Yeah.
I
And also
appreciate it.
I want to say, everyone, thank you so much for the very kind comments. I've been reading the chat, and
Yay! Awesome.
yes, I'm very sorry that we could not speak Caveman during this live stream. Unfortunately, I'm not too good at speaking Caveman, even though I've been reading a lot of it. I have to learn a bit.
Can you imagine if this was like a nothing? You remember when, I guess after GPT, or like when Copilot first was launched, I remember one of our party tricks was like to say speak pirate, and people got a
Yeah.
kick out of that so much.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that'd be hilarious if we were like on the Caveman. Okay, friends, I'm gonna start this. So if it didn't work for you to get in because the page gave you an error, please let me know. But with these 5 players, the lucky 5, I'm gonna test it out now. And I appreciate you. This is in the spirit of open source. All of you are awesome. Thank you so much to the 6 people who got in here. Let's go ahead and start it. Also, good point. I don't know what happens if you try to join after a game is already in progress. So this will be a nice little test for that. Okay, so go ahead and answer the question. You should be able to answer it. What is an agent skill designed to provide? Julius, you can answer because I'll be cheating because you already know the answer. so okay, a reusable capability with instructions and optional support in files. Not bad. Not bad. I think that's, yeah, sure, that's accurate. And shout out to Camby for being our top contestant there. Also, I did 7 questions. My bad. Okay, which file is required in every agent skill directory? Oh, this is a good one because I feel like this is changing, especially now with the plugins. But I'm not gonna try and throw you off. We'll see if is it gonna work. Would it do it? Maybe. Okay, Camby did not
Yes,
come
there
to
we go.
play. Yes, that's correct. So a skill, and that's actually what our project today, what our open source project was about. All right. This is also, Julius, you can answer. Like, what should a skill description tell an agent? This is good. Your hopes and dreams, what the skill does and when to use it, every command it might ever run, a complete copy of the repository. Wow. Or the agent's provider's billing rate. I love that. Should have added
Yep,
your data and
exactly.
files. There you go. Brilliant. So what the skill does and when to use it. Camby did not come to play. Y'all gotta be faster with those fingers. And by the way, I am gonna send you a little gift. So make sure that you DM me. If you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, just find me, send me a DM with a screenshot that you're the person who won. Why move loan supported material into references instead of keeping it all in skill.md? Because agents can load the extra detail. Wow, that was very fast. Everybody answered really fast. Fantastic. Yes, that's why.
Yep.
So they can load the extra detail and only when the task needs it. And that's how you save time, money. All right. And what is agents MD most useful for? I'm
gonna place my bet on A.
Okay, I like that. Please never be, never ever be. Like somebody's thinking about it. Okay, we will give it a, there we go. Can be you're in it to win it. Absolutely. Okay, second to the last question. What can an agent plugin package in a portable format? Oh, that's a good question. We're gonna go with, oh, this is funny. Okay, so the agent did a good job at the regular questions about the overall stream, but it didn't give me any Caveman specific questions. So I gotta go back and see why it didn't do that. But because the idea is like you're listening to the stream, you're transcribing, and then you're creating it. But well, we'll see. But again, friends, you're my first test subjects. Can be you did not come to play. And the final question for the winner, the crown, the overall champion of the first ever Open Source Friday trivia. What does, okay, the one question, what does a project like Caveman exist? To reduce unnecessary context and token load while preserving useful work. That sounds very convincing. To remove the need for skills and plugin. Oh my gosh. To turn every agent response into, my goodness, you guys are fast. Brilliant. That's it. So to reduce unnecessary context and token load while preserving useful work. Would you agree with that, Julius?
Completely.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for playing this game. I appreciate Camby. I don't know where you're watching. If you're watching on LinkedIn, on YouTube, whatever you are, please send me a DM. So a screenshot that your thing showing that is you, please, and send me a message and I'll send you a little something. I am so grateful for all of you today for playing this experiment with me, and so grateful for you, Julius, for answering my DM. And I know we had to do a lot of back and forth to get this scheduled, but I'm super excited that we got it done.
No worries.
Cannot
I feel
wait.
very honored.
Oh my goodness, no, I'm super thrilled and chuffed for you, and I cannot wait to see what comes up next. You gotta follow Julius because there's gonna be stuff coming down the pipe that you wanna be a part of. That's what I'm saying. Just go follow him so that you can stay. There you go. So you can stay in the know, okay? And you heard it here first at Open Source Friday. Good. Thank you, Julius. I appreciate you. Have a great weekend, and thanks for creating Caveman. I think a lot of us have used it and loved it, and can't wait to see what comes next.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
How cool is that? I'm obsessed. Every time I meet someone that's created something that's really good, I actually personally use it, love it, and they turn out to be nice people. It's like I'm just winning, and so are we all. So thank you so much to Julius. Thank you so much to all the 44 contributors to Caveman as well. And to every single one of you who's watching, because I know right now you're going to follow Julius on Twitter, and you're also going to go drop a star in that repository. Camby, don't forget to send me a message so I can get you your price. I appreciate you all. Thank you for being in Open Source Friday. Don't forget the sale for GitHub Universe tickets. Early bird is coming to an end soon. Come hang with me. Come hang with me. I'll be there. I think next Open Source Friday we'll go over the catalog of the open source related sessions that are part of the catalog. I think that'll be an interesting thing for you to see, because there's a little bit of everything at GitHub Universe. Regardless of what your stack is or your tenure in tech, there is a space for you there. So if you want to win a free ticket, go to gh.io/win. Thank you for being here and supporting open source. Catch you next week. Next week, we're going to have a better week. I know it.